everybody. I'm Tom Vessel.
I'm Z Garcia.
And today we're talking about...
This game right here, Laniakea.
Yeah, all right.
Laniakea.
So this is a two-player abstract game from Gerhard's, and that's pretty much all they make. Sometimes they make some multiplayer, but their games are abstract. They're made of wood. They come in these cardboard boxes. They always look like this. It's very low production. In fact, I really wish they would have nicer boxes.
They have beautiful wood, and the wooden components are often very lovely, but yes, the packaging is...
Putting these like in your shelf, you're not going to see what they look like from the side and all that. But that's the way they are. But we've had pretty good experience with these in the past, these games.
Yeah, they tend to be different.
Yeah, like the worst of them might go, it's okay. That's usually the worst they say about them. This one, well, let's find out how to play it, and then you'll see what we think.
The objective of the game is to get 5 of your pieces across the board into your opponent's zone there. Once you do that, you win the entire thing, and as soon as you do it, the piece is removed, and so you have fewer pieces on the board. So each player on their turn is going to take 2 actions, and then we are going to shift the board slightly. So let me show you how that works. From this beginning zone, which is considered adjacent to everything in front of it, you can move a piece into wherever you want. So again, they're all adjacent, so it could go there from the entry zone there. So moving, that's an action, one of your actions, and you can move in any direction. You cannot land on the turtles. So if this piece is here, it could go forward, it could go backwards from the original place, or it could go side to side, with these pieces counting as 2 spaces. So this would go 1 over, that's an action there. My first turn could simply be moving this one here and then moving it again, or moving a different piece in, like this one. Once you've done that, you will then slide the leftover piece into the line where your final piece landed. Let's say, for example, I did this, 1 and 2. Those are my 2 actions. I take this and I slide it into one side or the other of that line. And then this piece goes to my opponent, and they'll take their first action. So they might go 1, 2 themselves and slide this over like so. If any pieces fall off the edges because they're pushed off, they go back to the players that own those pieces, and they'll have to re-enter those pieces, obviously, on their own turns. So let's say blue went, it's back to me. I am going to do something like this, 1, 2, like so, and I'll push this over, give that to my opponent. And now my opponent is going to show us here something else you can do, and that is you can stack pieces. So they can go 1 and 2 on top of this one. I'll offset it so you can see that there are indeed 2 pieces there. You can have a stack of up to 3. When you do so, whoever's below the top piece cannot move. And a new limitation comes to the pieces that are on top. They may only move exactly the distance equal to the stack. Again, the stack can be up to 3. So this top piece right now, being the second one, could move twice. Unfortunately, right now, it is blocked from moving unless it jumps back. So it could go 1, 2, which is blocked, 1, 2, which is blocked, or 1, 2, which is blocked. They can jump over something, so they could go 1, 2 as long as you land somewhere empty, and they could even jump onto another piece. So if I have a piece here, then blue could on their turn go 1, 2, and they could even move again if they're able to. One thing you cannot do is you cannot jump a piece over a taller stack. So obviously here they cannot jump onto this stack with 3 because that's the maximum, and they cannot, if this is here, like so, they cannot jump this blue piece over a stack of 3. But that's it as far as the rules go. It's very simple. You're trying to, again, maneuver your way across, being able not to, careful not to fall off the edges if your opponent maneuvers it so that you do fall off. The only rule I haven't explained is that if your final turn, as I explained, whenever your final turn ends up in one of these lanes, you must push the extra piece into that lane. Well, if your final turn, your final action of the 2 you have, is at one of the end zones here, then you can push whichever line you want to. It's up to you at that point, all right? Once one of your pieces makes it to the end, you should remove that, set it aside. Once you get 5 that come off of your opponent's side, you win the entire thing. That's the game.
When I was explaining the rules of this, for some reason, I keep thinking Frogger. You know, when I was teaching it the first time to somebody, because you're like trying to get across without the turtles blocking your way. They don't run you over. I don't know why I'm thinking Frogger, but turtles, frogs, I don't know. You're just trying to get across the stream.
The path building sort of thing of when can I go forward, when do I have to step sideways to clear across. Yeah, there's a Frogger block sort of feel to it. And there's very few rules. I mean, the explanation, as you saw, was pretty short. With some nice interaction, though, with both the other player and the board state itself.
Yes.
I really like when an abstract is still able to do that, give you that feeling of interesting ideas, really nice back and forth, and very few rules. Even with a board that changes this much, it manages to be pretty simple.
Now, I like the components. I love that you slide those tiles in. I like the orange and blue, although I wish they were like some piece. I don't know what they are. I don't even know what you are in this game. The sea turtles don't want to be bothered. I get that, right?
Yeah.
I do wish the sea turtle tiles had a clear back to them.
Mm-hmm. That it was obvious what's the front and what's the back, because the ones that are fully
blank,
it's a problem. Or if they were printed on both sides.
But even that wouldn't have been a problem if the blank ones just had a line down the middle.
Mm-hmm. If the back had something across it, then I know that's the back.
Yeah, but I'm saying that these should have a line down the middle to show that there's two spaces. That would have solved that problem too. Then if it's blank. That's a minor thing, but I will tell you there's something when you play this game really satisfying about sliding one in and pushing stuff off. There's a lot of games that do that with tiles.
Yeah.
But this one, it just slides in that row, and if your opponent has pieces and you fall off, it's even more satisfying. Yeah. So I like that a lot. Like Z said, I like the idea that this is interactive. This is a game where you are thinking about how do I get across, but you are most likely going to try to stop your opponent at all costs and tie up their piece as long as possible.
Yeah, pushing them off or jumping on top of their pieces. That's the idea. And I really like the simple stacking rules in this game. It's barely there. It's a big, important aspect in the game, but there are not a lot of rules when it comes to stacking, and they make sense. Again, everything in an abstract, if it flows, if it is easily understood and makes sense, you can get playing right away. That's where you want that game to be. I think the max 3, you have to jump that distance. If you take the third piece and jump, it has to be 1, 2, 3. That's really clean.
It is. And in fact, sometimes you can get yourself, you're like, I'm on a stack of 3. And then because of the way the turtles are set up or whatever, you're stuck. And I like that. I also like it has that feeling that some games give you where I am on top of some of Z's pieces. I'm not going to move. I'm locking him up. But also, I'm not moving.
Yeah, at some point you need to go, yeah. I like that you do not have to get all of your pieces across.
Yeah, that would make a boring endgame.
Yeah, it's a nice tense endgame to get 5 of the 8 or whatever it is. It's also something you mentioned where the closer you get to winning, the less control you have over the board. More of your pieces are gone, so you affect the board state less and less the more you are winning, which allows for some nice reversals, right? So this last game we played, you got off to a nice lead, and I was able to go on the defense and sort of, again, it feels like I'm playing hockey or something. I'm like, this guy's getting close. Shove him off this way. This guy's over here. Jump on top of him and lock him down. That's fun. And you can turn the game around that way if you do that well.
You're almost in a stronger position by scoring 3 than 4. Mm-hmm. Because with 3, if you can score 2 of your piece at the same time, you have them on the board and they can work off each other. You often mention Yinch, one of the best abstract games I've ever played.
Yes.
And how it has a really clean system of the more you're winning, you have one less ring.
Yes.
This game has that exact same feel to it. I really like that. It doesn't make it so that there's no catch-up mechanism per se, but it just means it's harder. You can't win in 2 moves. This isn't chess.
Oh, right.
And yeah, so for that reason, I like this a lot. I'm giving this an 8. This is a solid abstract. I don't know that I want to play it all the time, and I don't know that I'll sit there and think, what strategy will I try this time? No, I'm just going to play forward and try to, it's very tactical. Here's how the board's set up right now. what am I going to do to stop Z or whoever I'm playing against? And I like it. It's a nice, fun, unique game. Mm-hmm. The goal is not particularly... Abstract games have like 1 of 6 goals, and this one is get to the other side of the board. There are other games like that, Chinese checkers, so on. And then the sliding of the tiles is also not new, but the only being able to jump 2 or 3 on a stack and being blocked, that's what feels different about this one.
I agree.
And that's why I like it. So, yeah, this is Laniakea, or however you pronounce it. I'll give it an 8.
I'm also giving it an 8, and it only gets that score for a couple of things I would change in the production, because I don't think I'd want to mess with this game whatsoever. It's the right length. It's got the right amount of tactics. It's fun back and forth. The wooden board, the bottom of this thing is beautiful. The tiles, I do wish were split down the middle so you could easily count spaces that way. The turtles, whatever, get them out of there. Either go full abstract or go so thematic that there is no argument as to what I'm doing. Is this supposed to be a river?
Yeah, blue tiles.
Make it a river, you know what I mean? Are we little frogs jumping across or a little something jumping across? Then make that. Either go all in on the abstract or add a theme. This is half measures, and that pulls it back for me a little bit. I would love for this to be simply fully abstracted. The turtle thing, don't care. Don't get it out of there. Give me something cleaner than that. But the game, solid game. If I want to sit down and play a slightly longer abstract, not long, just a little thinkier, a little longer, this is a great pick for that. One of their best games, I would say, actually.
I'm not going to argue that. I think this is a really solid one. So
there you go.
Check it out. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
Save the turtles.